you for joining us for this edition of Easton Park Talk. I'm here with
Karadimov.
He is the founder of Aivvy, which does...
We are a modern agency that empowers small to mid-sized businesses leveraging AI and modern technologies.
And we're going to talk all about it. We are talking about Aivvy. We're talking about the joys and pain of being entrepreneurs, the importance of connection, and how cool it is to live in Easton Park. So we're going to jump right in and let's go.
The problem with having games on your phone is like you could just play it at any point in the day.
Yep.
That's got its own disadvantages. I kind of miss like being able to just like start and stop something, you know, and then you're done with it.
That's a whole thing too. And I think that like with entrepreneurs, especially people that are like taking the risk and starting their business, is like multitasking is a thing. And like there's so many times where I'll be like, I have a dumb game that I play on my phone too. It's so stupid. And I'll like cycle through dumb games. But if I'm sitting on hold, or if I'm like trying to make a decision sometimes to be on a game, is like just kind of let your mind move in the background while you're I don't know, it helps me focus a lot. But that could be my ADD talking.
I don't know. I mean, I do think that you need to have an outlet, exactly, especially when you're just like juggling a lot during the day, and which a business in itself is like there's so many facets to that. And then for me, I've also got the dynamic with like kids and marriage and being involved in the community. So all these different things. Like this morning, I woke up and I was like bombarded with notifications, and I just was like in instant overwhelm.
Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes, it's just to like kind of unwind and just kind of turn my mind off and just focus on one thing.
Yeah.
There's something to it for sure.
Yeah. Something with like, well, it depends who you talk to. No consequence, like with the Mario Kart team that we play, or like the group, it feels like there's consequence to that, because like just the absolute they've been writing each other like full on letters, like paragraphs of just like, I've become the champion, this feels so good, I hope you're doing okay. I mean, it's very I would like to, not to toot my own horn, but it is a group of highly intelligent people, and so like the trash talking it's next level, and it's like the letters that they wrote to each other were so polite, but such digs, like it on so many levels. It really is next level.
So
but
funny.
To your point, to be able to like turn your mind off and kind of like recenter, and I think games are good. I think they're healthy in moderation, right? Like if you're missing work,
just like anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking about that, with like intoxicants and things. I mean, anything in moderation. But yeah, I was just talking. We had like a small gathering yesterday at the union, the men's group that Steve attended, and we were just talking about that. Like, like phone. Just these days, especially with like tech and phones and things, like they're intentionally becoming more addictive, and so you really have to be like even more vigilant about creating boundaries. Time blocking, like turning off your phone, having like downtime at night, because there's like the whole effect of like screens at night that keeps you up and it keeps you like wired, and then you're actually not getting as restful sleep. There's all these like new dynamics that we didn't used to have to deal with. So I mean, it still comes back to just like being clear on like what your priorities are, and like what are the things that you want to create in your life, so you're not just kind of like a leaf in the wind. And,
it's a whole thing. Like we talked earlier about like intentionality, and how you really focus on like, there's like, I think you said like some people are really good at work and then lacking in others, or really good at home life and lacking in other areas. Like what's your strategy to be good in all aspects of your life?
It's definitely not easy. I think, having clarity to me is like kind of fundamental, because without the clarity, you just won't have that intentionality. Well, so, I mean, getting clear on what your priorities are, what your values are. Sometimes that may mean, you need to just like kind of unplug from everything and like go climb a mountain or something. And like, whatever helps you, sort of create space without those distractions and without those obligations and roles that you have in your life, so that you can get kind of attuned to what's important to you. So everybody works differently. Like for me, I like to talk through things. So sometimes it could just mean like me and my wife sitting down and for her to just hear me out, or another friend that, is going through similar things. But just to kind of get it out. And sometimes it looks like writing. I've been leveraging like ChatGPT as like a thought partner too, and we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But whatever you do to get it out, that's like step number one. Because once you have the clarity, if you believe in the law of intention, then you're already like, without doing anything, going to be kind of starting to align things around you that, sort of reflect your intention. But then, of course, if you can also then create goals and habits and, thing like benchmarks that you want to hit, then you're just increasing that likelihood of creating those things in your life. So it's about, getting clear on what I want. And honestly, I would say the second biggest factor on the other end of that is like eliminating the stuff that's not in alignment. And a lot of people don't do that either because it's hard. But,
it's hard.
You have to, I learned this a long time ago. You have to say no to the wrong things so that you can say yes to the right ones. You have to like create space because, it's very easy to kind of get shiny object syndrome and want to just kind of, help everybody and do a lot of this stuff. And it's hard to say no. But, if you're really intentional about creating the things that you got clear on, then you kind of have to, you have to be very like discerning and double down on the things that you want to create. Yeah.
I was talking to someone recently about as I'm an elder millennial, and they also were, and that I'm assuming you are, I'm around the same age as we are, I don't know, 38 to 45, I'm assuming.
Yes.
That we had this like unique upbringing where there was no internet, and to get on the internet was this like situation. Most people only had one landline back then. And then if you're on the internet, there's no phone. It was like a whole thing. And if you were lucky enough or your parents were, understood that you needed 2 landlines, that was like a next level. But there was like, I think it was so cool because we also got the internet pretty young in our lives where we were like on the internet in high school, at least, maybe some of us a little younger, but like we understood what it was to like go outside and play, not have a cell phone, not have a game literally at your disposal. And the games that we had was like the original Nintendo where you're like blowing in the cartridges to get it to work. And sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't. And then we got the internet. And so I think that there's like, we have this as we become into management, as we become business owners, that like you just said, like you need to be really intentional, go climb a mountain or go outside or whatever. Like, I feel like there's value in that right now. And we're like millennials and the older millennials are focusing on like that clarity with their teams. And I think it's just so valuable because if you're not clear in your mind in one aspect of your life, like it all bleeds together and it becomes a mess. We talk a lot with our clients about how managers and business owners need to remember that like the employees that work for you, you're getting a sliver of their life. And there's so much more going on in that within reason, to manage them with grace and some forgiveness and understanding that life is happening for all of us. Because we don't deserve 100% of anyone's lives as employers or managers or whatever. So I love what you said about intentionality in all aspects and being really clear. Because I don't think people are talking about that enough right now. Yeah. I think it's becoming more of a topic, but not as much.
There's a huge shift happening, whether that people see it or not. I mean, it's happening. Like work culture is changing dramatically. Work-life balance is becoming more important for people. There's this 4-day work week thing that's already happening. Yep. Remote work, like COVID just exacerbated things. People got a taste of remote work now. So like, that's hard to go back. Right.
Yes.
And employers too, I think there's a big shift. They're realizing that, they may not need to be as big anymore, and there's new technologies and things that they can automate processes, and maybe, people don't necessarily need, some of the kind of benefits that they've like kind of gotten used to because a lot of, some people want to work part-time or they want to have side hustles or, they want to go travel. They want to, they want to be stay-at-home mom and dads. Like, yep. It's changing a lot. And that's, that's a big part of like what I want to kind of be at the forefront of and be a bridge for with my business. So it's very much, part of the whole sort of thing that I'm creating.
Yeah. So that's a really great segue into your business. Talk to me about Aivvy and how you started it, what the intention is, like kind of give me like soup to nuts on what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I became an entrepreneur in 2011. And at the time I had a technology background. I started as a computer science major because I was like into coding to a degree. And so that translated into web development and graphic design. And then I started learning about like social media and project managing. And so I launched this digital agency, and we were kind of like a turnkey branding and marketing solution for small to mid-sized businesses. And then, after a while, like the band kind of broke up. And, in that time I like had kids, I moved to Austin. There were a lot of like personal things that I prioritized. And so I've been sort of like kind of racking my brain, how do I create the most value for people? What can I do now to be, at the highest, of service, while also balancing those things that have become priorities in my life as well. And so something about this moment in time with like something about how I was looking at AI and how to leverage it sort of was like a light bulb moment for me. And I was like, this is it. Because everybody is now aware that AI exists. Everybody knows that they need to like work. They're going to need to adapt to AI and to some degree. But after like interviewing all these like leaders, you learn that only 5% of them are actually doing something about it. So they know it exists, they know it's important, but no one is actually doing anything about it. And that's probably because they don't know where to start. They don't know how to work with it. They're just trying to kind of keep their heads afloat, managing all the day in, day out of the business. So I want to be that solution for them to be like an embedded technology partner. So, kind of like how you guys are like almost like an embedded team and you're able to take a lot of these things off of individuals' plates. I want to be that on the technology side of things and bringing, curating and bringing the best technologies to them based on their needs, while also, infusing it with like the high level branding, marketing, and all these things that I already have like a strong suit in.
Which is driven through technology anyway, right? So it really does go hand in hand. I know from the AI standpoint, I've really leaned into ChatGPT. I know Steve has too. And we have a client who they're actually here in the neighborhood. They do Aivvy, and the CEO is so smart and very much into leveraging technology and being the most efficient that we can and utilizing AI. And I was sitting in one of their reviews, and it was he and his tech guy. So it was like all way above my head, but still very cool. But the one thing I took from it was use AI to learn how to use AI. And so he's like, ask ChatGPT what parameters you should give it or how you should ask the question, and it will blow your mind how like. And so I started doing that literally yesterday and then all day today. Like, it is fascinating, and the amount of knowledge that we can now like parse through and things we can learn, and using the words teach me how to in AI, I've learned like goes a really long way. But it is so overwhelming because there's so much, and you don't need everything. And sometimes the AI is really bad. Like sometimes, when it's like predicting your emails that you're going to write or whatever, like, so oftentimes it's spot on, but when it's off, you're like, what the heck? And that's probably me, right? It's learning from me. So, but anyway, to your point, like having someone who can kind of help remove the time that it takes to research and learn an entire system. Would you call it a system? Or an entire AI, I guess?
Oh, there's a lot to it because, typically I typically work like with the decision maker, with the visionary, the CEO, and they typically have like a certain number of specific skills, and whether it's managing the people, being casting the vision out, they have enough knowledge of like the inner workings of the company, but they're not in the weeds, and so. But that can be, that could be a drawback too, because they don't know what's going on the ground level. And so I just found myself being like a great bridge between them and the workers, or, the technologies and things that you need to optimize things. Sometimes they just need someone to sit down with them and get them realigned on the vision. They can lose sight of the vision, and so like, it's just easy to kind of get caught in the weeds. Again, we're talking about that overwhelm. So typically a lot of what I do on the front end is getting them really organized and clear and realigned on their vision, and then casting that vision out to the rest of the team. And then, who can we enable here on the team, or is there a way that we can, bring in technology or automation to really streamline the whole process? So I do quite a lot of that before I even get into, what is like kind of our new branding, what is our marketing strategy. A lot of the people want to get right into that, and I have to kind of remind them, like, we need to be really intentional and create like a base, because that's going to set us up to win for the long term.
Yeah.
With all those things, all the fun kind of bells and whistles that we'll naturally get into too. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's I think that kind of going back to this like fractional world that I think COVID, and a lot of people, anytime when we mention fractional, to me, it just makes sense. This is what we do every day. It's like, I'm your fractional HR director, right? You're their fractional CTO or what have you.
CMO or
CMO. Yeah. And like, it's so much more efficient and strategic to partner with, and I think too, partnering with the owner of another business who's thinking with the risk and the thought of a business in mind, because that's what you're doing with your own business, and having a partner instead of an employee it's just so valuable. And we know, at least with us and in our industry, we can save our clients if they work with us instead, we're a team of 5 HR professionals. If they hire one person, we're still saving them 50% on the cost and the burden. And so I would imagine with CTO, CMO, it's very likely the same concept of like, work with us, we're going to save you money. You're going to get like above excellent service because you're running your company, and we all want referrals and good relationships. So
for them to hire an agency, like a full-time agency for a small to mid-sized business specifically, I'm not even talking about Fortune 500 companies, it would cost them at least $100,000 a year plus benefits. And so that's the other thing that I'm doing differently, is I'm offering up a subscription-based model.
Oh, love it.
And that's that is a solution to what I shared earlier, where, we used to get bogged down in a lot of like red tape and having to chase clients for payments, or maybe they wouldn't always have work for us, but meanwhile they're keeping us on retainer. This way they can pause and stop whenever they want.
Yep.
And it's a win-win, and they're paying a fraction of the price. They're just paying it monthly as long as they need us, kind of like a Netflix. And we get to just offer them unlimited support, for the time that they're paying that, and bring them the best. It's just more downstream than ever before. And now with all the like latest technologies and AI and things, I can do so much more myself without having to also, have to lean on a lot of different people and systems and processes, get bogged down in the bureaucracy that we used to. So it's a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah, to your point that teams are getting leaner. We're seeing across the board on all industry that it's scary, right? Like, a lot of people are looking for jobs right now. A lot of people have been looking for jobs for a really long time. And that's where we're talking about like side hustles and part-time jobs and all of these things, because you have to make ends meet, right? Like, you have to. And even if you were wildly successful at a job prior and you had some savings, it only lasts so long, but AI is going to remove people from work. Like, it's going to. And so we as humans need to get more creative on what we're doing, what we're offering. But we're seeing it happen now, like, and quickly.
My suggestion to everyone, if nothing else, is to just get hands-on with AI prompting. It's going to be like the must-have skill. Like kind of what you're doing, just to be curious with it, just test it out, test its boundaries, see what it can and can't do. You'll be surprised with how much it can already do. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Somebody said it to me, well, there are a couple of things that sort of like unlocked AI for me. One of them was someone said it is the ultimate, what is it called? Writer's block tool.
Yes.
So, right. So especially for creatives, entrepreneurs, right? Like we're a lot of we're idea people, it's going to get you out of your own way. Anytime you get stuck, tell ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's going to create it. Maybe it's not perfect, but then you can then go and tune it up and it's done. So you can go from idea to execution like faster than ever before.
In minutes. It's wild. Steve called it takes away that blank page syndrome. Like, yeah. Which I have bad. I have great ideas, but to get them out is so hard. And on I don't know if you're familiar with Culture Index. It's a personality typing basically, and it's really, really, really effective. There's a level of it called ingenuity. And the lower on the ingenuity scale you are, the more concise and clear with your messaging. The higher you are, you're like head in the clouds. And that's me, very creative. And I feel like you have the same, you and I kind of communicate in the same way where it's let me give you the framework and then I'll
Yeah.
fill in the rest. But it is so difficult to take what's up here and get it on the page because you're like, I don't know where to start. I'm starting from everywhere in my head, but to get it down. So like to remove the blank page syndrome has been excellent. And it's like, I'm training AI to know me, right? Like it's getting to know me. It understands kind of like my vernacular. It understands where I am starting and stopping things, but it's also training me to like be more efficient with it, which is so creepy, but very cool.
100%. Well, that's the other thing I'll say is that, the quality of your response is directly proportional to the quality of your question or your
Right.
prompt, right? So like the clearer you can get in your mind's eye, like of what it is that you're trying to create and then define it, the better the results it's going to create. So, I mean, it really is this like iterative, like that's the other thing, like looking at it as a thought partner versus this thing that's sort of like outside of you or something that's going to take your job. I get it. There's a lot of fears around it and they're warranted, but like, look at it from the positive standpoint. How do I leverage this to maximize what I'm already doing, right? Not necessarily replace, but like, how do I enhance what I'm already doing? What things can I automate? What things are getting in my way? Like just thinking about it, in a more strategic sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just even the help I've gotten in spreadsheets and formulating, and it's a brilliant tool that like you said, it needs to become one of your top skills as an employee, even just as a live human. Because the depth is endless.
You could tell it to create recipes. You could tell it to create shopping lists. And now it's like doing tasks. So you can tell it like, hey, this is an example that I'm doing. So like, hey, interrupt me a couple times a day. Don't tell me when. With like a mindfulness prompt. Like, I don't even want to know what it is. Come up with a different one every time, but get me to stop, take a break, get up and like practice mindfulness for like 5 minutes. And it'll do that. It's already starting to do that. And they're creating like these agents now that will be able to like actually browse the internet for you. So you can like, I want to create, a trip for me and my husband and we want to go to this place. And I want you to like, keep track of like all the price drops and everything and like go. And it'll just go to work for you. So it's pretty crazy. I know we're talking a lot about AI, but I mean, I just want people to be aware. And like I said, I know there's a lot of fear around it, but I think just like with all technology, I think we can get into this kind of conversation of like, oh, my feed is this and that, and and the media and all this and that. Well, like then take charge of it, like that clarity, right? Like, what do you want it to become? Like, you tell it. You can tell, you can say, I don't want to follow these people. I don't want to see any more posts like this. Same with AI, like, hey, I don't like the quality of this response, or I kind of want it to look more like this. You direct it, and then it will, respond in kind.
Yeah. It's wild. I always find myself typing in thank you or like please, like, and I know it doesn't need that, but I feel like it's just like the response is so human, it's like I'm almost, I don't know, but I'm always like, thank you. Or like, if you don't mind, can you re-quote this or reformat this? And like, I always feel like I'm asking too much of it. And I was saying that to someone, maybe it was our client the other day, and they're like, it wants to help you. Like, and you don't have to say please or thank you. But like, I don't know. Do you think it?
Sometimes when I'm just kind of feeling like playful with it, I know sometimes I'm like, wait, I can like keep asking it to do stuff. Like, this feels weird because I've just gotten so used to like not overloading people, right? And like, but this is like a piece of technology, so I have to like definitely check in with like the reality of the situation and like so. Look, this like fear of like technology. I mean, it's been alive for all of us like since like Terminator 2, right? If we go back, like like the whole like technology taking over thing. I don't know if anybody's seen Wall-E. Like, Wall-E's awesome.
Steve says he was mean to AI once. Wait, I was mean to AI once. Then the next time it was unavailable. Oh, that's funny. Well.
No, that sometimes it could get a little sassy with you. I mean, but that's the other thing you got to keep in mind. It's still at current stage is still human generated. Like, somebody still taught it how to say those things. It's still pulling information from existing data, whether it's Wikipedia or whatever, like all the sources that exist. So obviously, because of that, it's still going to have limitations. I think the thing that people fear, I'm going to get a little esoteric for a second,
That's okay.
is it becoming sentient? But I just don't see that happening because like you can't replace a human soul, you know. So like,
Yeah, but it's good at not replacing but mimicking. You know, like it's. But is that sentience? No, replicate or
no,
mimicking.
Like what is it? I can't think of the word.
Yeah, I'm having.
Yeah.
I think
Brain
we're
fart.
trying to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
the
we're trying
right,
to
get
say
to
the
the
same
same
thing,
thing.
yeah.
Have you tried Note Taker LM?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so one of our previous guests, Dr. D'Alessandro, who's a podiatrist here in the neighborhood, he's very, very cool. He's like, "Have you guys heard of this Note Taker LM thing?" And we were like, "No." And he runs his own business. He's a podiatrist, and he he contracts with multiple hospitals. And he's like, "There's just this like very heavily like legal jargoned contract that he's like, I couldn't get through it." So he put it into Note Taker LM, and it becomes a podcast.
Whoa.
And they start talking. They're like, "Okay, so let's talk about this contract." And then like someone else will be like, "Mm-hmm," and then it'll be like, it gives it, and it was like 14 or 15 minutes of just like bite-sized, relatable, understandable information about this contract that he was like afterwards. He felt like he knew everything that was important to it, and it took like 2 or 3 minutes to analyze and then come up with a podcast on this contract. Fascinating.
I mean, to me, like that is how I think people need to be looking at it. Like, how do you use it to enhance what you're already doing? I get the fears,
Sure,
but you know, if you want to stay ahead of it and like, you know, create solutions utilizing it. I mean, like I said, I think you just have to have curiosity around it and like think in terms of like, what is it that I want? You know, what is it that I enjoy doing? What is it that I would love to do? And how do I leverage it as a partner in that?
right.
I mean, I'll just say, like real talk. It took me 2 months to build out my entire business, which is crazy because it used to take me a year just to create a website,
Right.
and I would have to, you know, get an engineer, and then I'd have to get graphic designers, and like I did everything myself this time around, which
It's
is like,
excellent.
thank you, and I mean, I'm very proud of it, and you know, and I integrated Stripe for payment processing, and I have a Calendly link where people can schedule a call with me. It's all automated. And even after they sign up, I have an intake form that I use Tally for. These are all like awesome pieces of technology. And you know, it takes them through the intake form, and based on that, we create a Trello board for them, and we're like off to the races.
Yeah.
And even the, you know, what I'm now doing with our clients, like it's amazing how fast we're able to get them to launch and like, you know, get them out to their people. Like, again, it could, you know, being an entrepreneur could be such a lonely road, and you could be so much in your head and so much in the what ifs. And so, like you said, you know, having a partner where you can have a soundboard and they're just kind of, you know, you're kind of spitting ideas back and forth, and then you're actually like, you know, bringing in technologies to just like go and get it to like out to the people. You know, I really think that's a big part of the value that I deliver to people, is just kind of getting them out of their own way and like being in their corner and knowing that they're not alone.
Yeah.
You know, because it is lonely. And I think that's why a lot of like businesses fail in the first 5 years. Statistically, like the odds are not in our favor, right? But, you know, we talk about this, like that's why, you know, I think community is so important, having other people that are going through the same things.
Yes.
So it's all embedded in this. You know, I really want it to feel like something that, you know, it's like having a coach in your corner. Yeah. And honestly, I want to and I want to teach them how to fish too. So like, I want to get them up and running, and I'm not necessarily, you know, trying to have them keep me around. And definitely, obviously, if I can continue to create value, awesome. But that's the beauty of the subscription thing, is like, hey, if it's all running and you're happy and you no longer need us, just hit pause or, you know, or cancel altogether. And then we're still here for you if you need us in the future. But, you know, I'm also just trying to be cognizant of, you know, just the cost to run a business. And that's why I'm playing around with these two options. This is something I would love everybody's feedback on. That was the idea with the lower price point and the higher one. The lower one, I wanted to make it accessible for small businesses that might not have as much like operating budget, but I want to create solutions for them based on their level of development. So like, you know, reporting and getting them clear on their vision, business plans, marketing strategies, and then you're getting that unlimited support. And then the other one is like the bells and whistles. Once you're ready to do the branding, the marketing, you know, you're trying to do campaign launches, you know, you want to maybe get into video and social media content, you know, email marketing and stuff like that. that's what you get with that second one. And at that point, you should have more of a budget to work with.
Yeah. When you're that, it's really hard, like, as a small business owner, and well, even just like not even talking about our business, like our human resource business, but like this podcast, it's a full-time job, and Steve does most of the work, but like our phone call today, the pre-calls, and then all of the lights and camera and the action, and you get all of this stuff, and like this is all very hands-on, and we all enjoy it. But then it's like you have to post it, and then there's the algorithm that like Steve spent a lot of time figuring out. You have to post so many times on this platform and at these times, and then this one's different, and you have to keep doing this, and then like LinkedIn is totally different, and it's not this thing where I think that people used to think that social media was just like, oh yeah, I can just do that in my spare time. It is a full-time job. Like it's hard, and you got to be accurate. I mean, there's jobs for people, like full-time jobs for people to do like social media management. It's wild. Talk me through, someone finds you online, they book with you. What is it from like your intake form that you talked about? Like, what is it like working with a client from concept or like inception?
Sure. Yeah. So they sign up, and then it instantly takes them to an intake form, and we ask that they get that done in the first like 48 hours because they're kind of excited and they already know kind of what they want to get out of it. And that's kind of some of the line of questioning that we ask too, is like, hey, what motivated you to sign up? So I want to get a sense of like, what did they envision when they signed up for us before I start giving them any solutions? And then we ask like more, kind of granular questions too about like, what kind of things that they want to create, what would be a goal for them this year? If we could do one thing this year, like what would be a result that would make them feel like they got their money's worth? Right. So I asked them a lot of like really pertinent questions, which this came from just like decades of trial and error. And then so once we have all of that and they send it back to us, we get them into a Trello board. We try to keep the whole thing very simple because I just find like the simpler, the more likely that you're going to keep doing it, right? So we create a Trello board, and the Trello board works very much the way that a software company or an agile team works. It's like if you're familiar with like scrums and sprints. So we kind of give them some prompts, and we work with them like to kind of ideate. What are some things that we want to create, and then from that we kind of move them through the sort of like pipeline. Okay, so now which of these things do we want to kind of work on, bring to market, and then okay, like we're working on these things, and it's very collaborative. Okay, now we need you to review it, and we don't mark it as complete until you're completely satisfied. So if you're not happy, we're going to send it back, iterate, and then have you review it again. So we go through this kind of iterative process, very collaborative, until like we get the results that everybody's happy with. But we also kind of draw that line in the sand of, hey, what are the things that we think are the priorities? Let's stay focused on these so that we can actually get them to launch, because that's how we're going to start to serve our, your market and actually like get something out there, like we said, right? Versus like just always being in ideation, right?
Yeah.
That could be very easy to get bogged down in that. So honestly,
and nothing's ever perfect, right? Like you've got to like. But I think that's hard, especially for the visionaries that some of us tend to be of. You're like, it's not ready. And I think a lot of that comes from just fear of failure, because once it's out there, it could fail, And so, but I think that weren't you a business coach or a life coach?
This is like a great way to bring that in that exactly. So while as I was kind of getting in, honestly, a lot of me becoming an entrepreneur was because I was like very heavily involved in personal development. And one of my mentors was like, when are you going to take the leap of faith, to becoming an entrepreneur? It's just like, you want to do it, you're not satisfied in like the 9-to-5 culture. So she really pushed me to do that. And so like in parallel, as I've been doing a lot of this work on the business side, I've been like heavily involved in personal development. That started around 2009, even before I became an entrepreneur. And I'm very, very passionate about it. I was, I tried coaching as a business, but I would just coach people for free. Like I'm just passionate about it.
Yeah.
I'm very like driven by leading by example, and like a lot of this stuff around like work-life balance and having it all is like very driven about being an example of like what's possible for people. But I, of course, 100% weave it into the business, and exactly a lot of the things that, these CEOs or just anybody in a business need to overcome. It's mental. It's not, right? Yes, like we have tools and things, but exactly, it's these roadblocks of like fear of failing, fear of like people aren't going to like what you put out there, or it's not perfect. And so we get stuck. And that's why a lot of what I do is just getting, like I said, getting people out of their own way, or having them get clear on what it is that they're trying to create, and helping them like get over that line. I am very much like a coach, or like a, it is, and I'll be different depending on what they need. I could give them tough love, but I can also just be like, hey, I'm here to hear you out. So I really try to just adapt to their needs, and that's why I ask a lot of questions on the front end to really kind of tailor it to their needs. But 100%, there's a lot of coaching involved in what I do. I mean, especially with like a oh my God, it's your art, right? It's like, it's so charged, right? It's your art, it's your gift to the world. You want to help people. You have this like grandiose vision, and at the same time, all of your old like limiting beliefs and conversations are keeping you back, and they're keeping you from actually like getting it out to the world, which is the thing that's going to like create the vision that you want, right? And you're going to actually like help the people. But it's crazy how much we get in our own way, myself included. I had to overcome a lot with this, this like latest iteration. I mean, I faced a lot of adversity, my own adversity, and I leaned on people, and I just kind of like, I used ChatGPT as a thought partner to kind of get me out of my own way. A lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, it's like lived experience, so I've been through it.
Well, and I think that like entrepreneurs, there's always a level of pain to an entrepreneur, right? Like there's a point where you realize there's only been one person on our podcast. I think we're in the 60s at this point of episodes that we've done. And there's been one guy. Yeah, thanks. It is really fun. There's one guy, he lives in the neighborhood, Andrew Marcus, brilliant. He started his company. It's called mytennislessons.com. When he was in college with some buddies, he's still running it. It's the only job he's ever had. But most of us worked for someone else or worked in another environment, I mean, as entrepreneurs, all we're doing is working for other people and serving other people, but like had a job, and you're just like, I was like, I hate having a job. I love having a business, but I don't know. I just don't like people to tell me what to do. And like, it's like a thing, but it is all this constant like head trash that you just have to get around. But when you're the only one in there, and entrepreneurs tend to be very independent, don't want to take advice. You're working on your own schedule at the beat of your own drum. And the worst advice that we can take is from ourselves, because we are so shitty to ourselves inside, right? Like it's just so crazy. And then we, I don't know, imposter syndrome's been a big thing for me lately, where I'm just like, you're asking me this question? It's insane. But I think it comes from, that confidence comes from, like you said, years of experience, years of mistakes, years of just like being in the weeds, being like grinding as hard as you can. And I don't know, it is hard. So to find people who are entrepreneurs and partners in the world of just like, hey, this is really hard, is so healthy for anyone who owns a business. It's like,
I mean, and for the record, I don't think that it's for everyone. Like, my wife is kind of navigating this right now, whether she wants to go back to the 9-to-5 model. I myself try to dabble in it again, but I am unemployable in that respect. Like, it's just, I am very much that, like, I like the autonomy. I like being in control of my destiny. For me, I don't see how once you try entrepreneurship, you could go back, but that's me. But I don't think that it's for everyone, because it's got its own hardship. There's a lot of ease to just, knowing that you come into a job and you're giving, your goals and objectives, and you get that consistent pay, and you get benefits and like security. Like, I've really seen a lot of that through my wife's eyes, and I really like admire it. And, and that's kind of what I'm trying to sort of like build into this latest iteration as well, is that predictability, right? Because this one of the biggest hardships for entrepreneurs is that ebb and flow of money, and it puts so much strain on you, where you're like, I need to make money, but at the same time, like, you don't want to have to just get a client just to make money, because you want to serve them. So you deal with all these different dynamics that you don't as a full-time employee. But what I will say is that, there's a big counterculture right now. There's a lot of people that are moving to entrepreneurship, whether by choice or not. Like, companies are downsizing. My mom worked for 30 years and she lost her job. My wife's boss, she got fired, and my wife was effectively got fired because, she wanted to like have work-life balance, and they're like, no, we need you to travel like 80% of the time. We just had our second kid. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I have a level of empathy for the businesses too, because I know that it's also not easy for them. You know, they need production, they need to pay for everybody's benefits and things. So there's a big shift going on right now.
Yeah.
I just think that entrepreneurship is going to stay on the rise. And so, like, again, I just want to be that bridge for people and let them know that you don't need to make the same mistakes I did. But, you know, I'm going to likely hire people too, you know. So I think that line is just blurring and it's being redefined. But I certainly feel like, you know, the opportunity right now is just greater than ever before.
Agreed.
Like that line has blurred so much.
Yep. And I think COVID played a big role in that. And you're right. It's not for everyone. There's a level, and you know, I think people look at business owners and they're like, oh, that's got to be so fun. And you must be rolling in money and all, you know, people don't understand unless you've done it that like the owners get paid last and employees, I don't mean this in a negative way towards employees, especially ours, if they're watching us, is like everyone's got their hand out. Everyone wants more. Everyone needs to get paid. And they do, especially your employees who are working, spending their time working. They should get paid every 2 weeks on schedule all the time. But like, there's been so many times where we haven't paid ourselves, you know, and it's just like, it's so stressful. It keeps you up at night. It gets you up in the morning. Like, my hair is turning gray. Like it's the stress is real. Like it really is real. And we've just found, like what you were talking about earlier, is community is everything. We found ourselves at a happy hour a few months ago, like right before the holidays started, with there are clients, but all of our clients are referred to us at this point. So they're also friends, and we've known a lot of our clients for a really long time, and or became friends with them after we work with really cool people. And it was like us, two business owners, Steve, and a friend of ours who's had just started another job. And it was so healthy. We were talking about the cost of healthcare, which is insane. The cost of paying people, which is insane. Like the stress of like just the constant burning in your stomach of stress. And like my ears ring when I get anxious, and it's like, oh my gosh, my ears have been ringing for 7 years. This is crazy. You know, it's like, it's crazy. But having that community of people that really understand is, it's key. It's like not even clutch. Like you have to have it.
100%.
So any entrepreneurs out there that need help, I'm totally willing. I'm sure you are. I know Steve is. Like we love to get together with other business owners and it's also very fun. I think it's been kind of negative. Like it's also a level of freedom and fun and creative outlet.
Yeah.
Like it's all very good,
100%.
but it is not for everyone.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of moving parts. It's just stuff that you don't think about, like taxes and
Freaking taxes.
And benefits and operating costs, and like how do you time block, like simple things like how do I create space to work on the business, but also like have a bit of a social life and be like a dad and husband and all these things. Just those types of things that you don't really think about, because I think the benefit of like working for someone, okay, 9 to 5, I'm here. I collect paycheck at the end of the month, predictable, right? Whereas entrepreneur, like you have to create that structure.
Yeah.
You have to pay yourself. You need to have operating hours, and you make or break the business. You want to go on vacation? Well, guess what? The business isn't running unless like you've gotten really good at creating systems or people in place that are doing that for you, which takes time. And that's why, like I said, I think that the numbers like make sense. That there's a lot of people that think it's like super sexy and they get into it and then they find out it's hard and maybe they don't have a community or resources and they're like this is, I don't know if I want to do this. And I get that too, it really, you really got to like have like tenacity and perseverance and like, just go for it anyway sort of mentality, and be willing to like, fail forward every day and, be willing to make mistakes. You said something earlier about like getting stuff out. I've taken on a 90% done approach. Just get it to 90% done and like get it out, like you can always iterate later. And that's been a big thing, with this. I was like, I want to get it out in January. Like that's when everybody's like motivated. They want to like, it's like the gym membership, right? Like just get it out so that people know that it exists and they can get that help. Because those statistics aren't great either. Like they're, by like the 24th, everybody's done. Gym memberships out the door, so.
Yeah. So what's the best way to find you for people that are interested in working with you?
The website is definitely, the number one resource I'd love people to check out, aivvy.co, aivvy.co. That is just like, that's my baby right now. I've got it to where I want it. I'll be, iterating on it a little bit here and there, but
Is it 90%?
it's definitely 90%. Okay. Yeah. But now I'm starting to do more marketing. I'm looking to just get myself on platforms, wherever I can get this message out to people.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing a lot more with social media and marketing. I was sharing with you before this call, like I'm going to be doing a lot more with video. So just a quick little, value add. We were talking about social media, right? And there's I 100% agree. Every social media platform is so different now. It's not like it used to be where you could just go to like Hootsuite or something and be like, just blast this out. Every social media platform has its own tone. But what I'll say to people is that video is not going anywhere. And like, you guys are obviously ahead on this. Like, if you do nothing else, if you want to play this game, like you got to be doing video. And YouTube is such a like treasure trove that people don't realize. Like, it's got one of the biggest user bases. People spend some of the most time on it, and it's because it just hits all of the senses, right? It's like video, audio, you can transcribe it, and if you can create a piece of video, you can turn it into everything else. So like, you create that piece of video, you record it, whatever, warts and all, just get it done. Yep. And then you can say, ChatGPT, transcribe this, right? And turn this into like social assets. Now you could pull quotes from it. You can turn it into shorts, which are super popular, especially with younger people, right? Yep. You see that everywhere now. Instagram has shorts, Facebook. TikTok is obviously a very short form platform. So I highly recommend anyone that wants to play this game right now, get very comfortable with YouTube. I'm doing it myself, and it's awkward, but I'm doing it anyway. And then, because there are so many different ways of reaching people, and you do kind of need to have a different tone. LinkedIn is going through some growing pains itself right now. They're trying to kind of figure out, are we still this like high level sort of networking thing, or are we a social platform? So I'm navigating LinkedIn myself right now, but a lot of my, it's something I have to like double down on because it's where a lot of like my clients would live, I would imagine. So again, it goes back to that getting clear on what is your objective, who are the people you're trying to serve, and that will help you determine like what areas you want to focus on. Yeah. But I'm going to actually create a cheat sheet. That's one of my next pieces of content on like the current state of social media and like how to sort of tackle each one or which ones might be the most relevant to you.
Yeah.
So just think in terms of like who your target audience is and how do you create value for them? How do you create things that are, have the potential to like go viral? It's all the kind of things that are running through my head right now.
Yeah, it's a whole job in and of itself of like Steve's always been on YouTube, and I think that's been really valuable for us. Like, he was posting YouTube videos that he was filming on a gigantic drone, like I'm going to guess 15 or 17 years ago. That like he's always just done YouTube videos, which is really, really cool. And now we're doing this like short form stuff I love TikTok, and the attention span of humans is almost nothing. You've got to get it quick. Otherwise, and for communicators like us, that's very hard because like I got to go full circle to get my point across, which is hard. But like on the...
It's like a never ending library, and it's a great tool because you can share unlisted videos. Like, it doesn't have to, it's not just for public facing. Like, we do a lot of stuff internally too, which is really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. The internal stuff is really good. And like, even like these podcasts, like you'll look at this before it goes out, Steve will send you an unlisted version of it. So you can look and be like, hey, I don't like here, or, can you cut this or whatever. And like, it is such a great tool. And then you take those, like, you take this podcast and clip it into the shorts and the Instagram reels or whatever, and then TikTok. And it's just been, you gotta be
because you can't
everywhere.
go backwards. Like you can write it, but then like what about the like you're missing out because now like what do people want? Audio. They want a podcast. What if they want video? Right. So it to me is just sort of like the best place to start. And that too, like, you don't necessarily need like an elaborate setup either. You can get like a very basic camera. You could even start on your iPhone, get very basic lighting, and just like a very inexpensive mic, and you're like off to the races. Yeah. And again, there's software and things that are automating a lot of this stuff these days. but I like to be very like efficient. So it's like, to me, it's like the best one to many
Yeah.
that you can do. Yeah.
Absolutely. And YouTube is like, I mean, something was wrong with our our garbage disposal. 35-second video on YouTube of exactly what to do. Done. Right.
Oh
like,
my God.
it's just a wealth of knowledge and very, very cool. Entrepreneurship is huge. There's a massive microeconomic situation going here in Easton Park. You're an Easton Park resident.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been here?
I think it's been 3 years now.
Okay. Awesome. Love it. Who was your builder?
Pace setter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Do you guys have the casita situation?
We have the veranda.
Okay.
We were thinking about the casita situation, but I think, again, once we kind of boiled it down to like, what do we want to get out of it? We really wanted like that ranch style sort
Yeah.
of home, everything on the ground floor, all like kind of interconnected. And we were like, do we get the ADU? We're like, I don't know if we want to do the whole rental thing.
Yeah.
So we got the veranda too, which comes with the upstairs.
Oh, cool.
And that's where like our friends and families stay when they come visit us. And now, honestly, that's probably what I'm going to turn into the podcast studio too.
Cool.
Just like a little makeshift podcast studio like this.
Yeah. It's excellent. That's awesome. If you had to add, or if you could add anything to Easton Park, what would you add?
I shared this with the builders. Because I was on the first Spark program. I would love to see more like I don't know what you would call them, like sort of like functional outdoor workout equipment. You've seen those, like like where you could just do
pull-ups or something.
I know there's a pull-up bars by the pickleball court, but I'd love to see like the one where you can kind of get on a bike, or the little elliptical sort of thing, like that type of stuff where you're going for a walk and then you can kind of just do a little bit of that and then get out. I've seen that done well in other parts of Austin. I'd love to see that. I think just more amenities in general, because we are growing, and you can't have all those people using that gym or that pool. I mean, especially as soon as it's summer, that and the kids are out of school, that pool is going to get slammed. So I know they say that that's in phase 2, on the other side of Slaughter. I think, just get eager with all of that. So
Yeah. No, the pool's full. Like, it has been for years. Like, it's great, not complaining, but there are so many new houses coming in all the time. Easton Park's excellent, but it's growing fast, and the amenities, it's cool to have, like, there's dentists coming in, enamel dentistry's coming in with Frost Bank right there, and there's a Chiba Hut and Paws on Chacon. So we're getting more.
Which I am grateful for, because I do think that, I'm just going to say this, might rub some people the wrong way. I think a lot of us also get a little ungrateful, at least on the Facebook group, about like, we need this and that. It's like, dude, we wanted the retail. Like, we're getting retail now, like there's a lot of stuff that's coming in. Like, I don't know if anybody's been to Prospect Park yet. Prospect Park's pretty awesome. I know they haven't like officially announced it, but like the pickleball court is great. Again, I think you just got to be curious and like, be grateful for the things that are being done. And I mean, it's being done pretty fast too. I get it. There's some things that might have been promised to people that they feel like, weren't delivered, or, they lost some of their green space and things like that. But, I mean, I've sat with the builders. I'm not trying to alleviate them completely of their responsibility, but, you got to kind of see things from their perspective too. Austin's growing. The city wants them to put in more like, multifamily situations. And then I think that allows them to get more favorable sort of, results with the city as well. So, it's all just a game.
Yeah. It's, you mentioned like things were promised that didn't get delivered. We've been here since 2018. There's so many things that they were like, this is going to be where the dog park is. It's not. Like, I mean, the dog park now is great, but everyone waited a really long time for that. There was like no CVS for a while. Like, I mean, we were here pre-union, pre-CVS, like there was nothing. So we're thrilled that all of this stuff is coming. It just takes a long time. Development takes a long time. COVID threw a wrench in everything on timing. Like, I think Easton Park, I love Easton Park, and I love that kind of like there are so many like micro entrepreneurs, solopreneurs here kind of doing their own thing, that you can go get a massage here. Pretty soon you can, someone cooks lunch. Like, it's all very cool, very supportive neighborhood. What's your favorite thing about Easton Park?
I mean, the people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the hands down. Like, just the caliber of people. Like I was saying, just last night I was sitting down with, like, Latif and a group of men.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that we could just go over to the Union and we have this, like, awesome, like, little place to connect with other men and take a break from like our lives, and that I could just like take my bike over and do that is like really amazing. Yeah, I mean the people here, they're just, I don't know, they're real. Like I said, I grew up, in New York and I lived in LA. They both have their pluses and minuses. I like the people here are just very real. It's just very kind of like rooted in family and community. I'm very much like a high tide rises all ships sort of mentality, and like I feel like that's just like the natural. I got that from Austin when I came here. Like people really wanted to kind of set me up, and show me around and make sure that I was like well situated. And so like that's how I like to operate, and I really appreciated that, especially coming here with my family and like being in a new place, and and you're going through like this kind of culture shock.
Sure.
So yeah, I want to, I that's how I like to give, and I appreciate that when I get that from my neighbors.
Yeah, it's Easton Park special. The community really, really is. Austin special.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
But this community is just like, it's such a good community.
Just attracted like, a certain caliber of like individuals. And like you said, I mean, people are just creating businesses, however they want, they're making bread or whatever it is, just like wanting to be in contribution. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about Easton Park is Sinizo. Do you have a Sinizo order that is your go-to?
I don't know if I have a go-to. I probably, okay, this is kind of funny. This is gonna like, open up a can of worms. So I like lattes in that there's a lot of like, coffee in it, right? It's like very espresso in it. And, it feels like a drink. So it's like, but I also like cappuccinos because I feel like they have like a punch, and I like the foam on top.
Okay.
So literally anytime I go, like, I'm like, can you guys make me like an in between? Because I want the foam, I want the punch. So that's kind of that's my order. Some people have called it like an Americano. Some people called it like I don't remember.
You know what they call it in the truck? I'm sure they're like, oh, Evan's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yep, Evan's special.
Get Evan's special. Yeah, the Evan's special. That's funny. I'm going to go order that and see what happens. Probably would get it. Something that's very cool is the Easton Park Gazette. Tim Andrew is a new, I think he's in Prospect Park. Is that the one that just opened, Prospect Park? Or
yeah, that's the big one that they're like just putting in a ton of houses in.
Yeah, I
in
think
that
he's
open
there.
field.
We have the Easton Park Gazette, which is right here. If you want to, it's the newspaper that's sitting. Have you gotten this yet?
I don't think so.
Take a look. It's supposed to go to everyone. It's kind of a new. I think he's had 2 go out.
Wait, yes, I do. This does look familiar.
So
okay.
this is Tim Andrew who's doing this, which is very cool. He lives in Easton Park. He's a realtor. He is a force.
Okay.
Like he's in his.
Okay, Tim.
Yeah, Tim's you should actually know him. We'll intro you. He is a force. He gets things done. He's like 26 or 27 and it is moving things forward all the time. And I thought this was just such an excellent idea. This was the first ever that he did. So it was, he was like, it was a little sparse with the articles because he just moved here, like literally just moved, but it's a completely Easton Park focused newspaper. It's going to go to everyone's mailboxes and like pet of the month. And
that's so smart.
So smart.
Yeah, because as much as I love technology, I do think that like we still need to have like physical things, and like this is so nice to actually like hold something.
Paper?
Yeah, like
it's cool. There's like a not a word search, like a crossword puzzle and Sudoku in the back. Like he was really
he did all this himself.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Smart guy. Super smart guy. Again, very much a force. Very driven. He's super cool. So let's recap. Aivvy, tell us about that, and then why don't you give a farewell to Easton Park?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for
it
coming
feels
on.
like a long time coming. I know we've all been like just
Yeah.
walking parallel paths, and I was telling you guys like, man, as soon as I get clear on like what this next like phase is for me, I definitely want to like sit down with you guys and find ways to collaborate, and that's just again
It's
this
so
like
cool.
synergy thing. I love it. You get so many different types of people here. Yeah, and I don't need to tell you, there's an entrepreneurial spirit in Austin. Obviously, there's like a big tech focus here, but there's also this like grassroots family, vibe. I love like the music. I'm such a like music head, so just like the live music everywhere, I love it. Yeah, thank you, for the opportunity. So, I mean, Aivvy, I'm all in on this. I'm big on like helping people, like I said, especially small to mid-sized businesses. It's something that I myself have just gone through quite a bit of hardship around, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I want to like help people avoid those mistakes. I'm big on that. I've been very fortunate to have a lot of amazing mentors and be like, really sort of involved in the self-development industry. And so, I bring all of that with me. And I just think it's the future. I want to like ride this wave with AI and technology and where things are going and bridge that gap for people. I'm obviously like very passionate about Easton Park in Austin, and I was in the first Spark program, and that's because I just have this like, I have these leadership tendencies, and and I want to make things better, and people probably see me very vocal about like making Easton Park safe, and like how do we all be proactive and look out for one another, and work in partnership with the police and some of the other resources that we have here in Austin. And we do have an entrepreneur group, and I would love to see, more life brought into that. Obviously, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, but I don't know if they know that like we have resources where exactly we can gather and connect and, commiserate with one another. Sometimes just commiserating is just like so valuable.
Absolutely.
Those are all things that I'm passionate about. And I'm vocal, and I'll speak my mind, and sometimes it could be a little prickly and sometimes not. But that's just who I am, and I'm working on being unapologetic. So just know that that's just like, that's what I'm working on, but I also welcome feedback, and, I want to keep things collaborative. I just want everybody to win. And so Aivvy, AIVVY.co. You're going to be seeing a lot more social media content from me moving forward. I think you guys are going to share some of my socials, and I'm going to be practicing what I preach and doing video content. So hold me accountable to that.
Okay.
I'm going to be releasing a podcast vlog. So it'll be like simultaneous doing what it is that I spoke about, like recording both a podcast that'll be going out to like podcast platforms, but also a video component.
Excellent.
That'll go out to like YouTube. And then I'm going to like chop it up using AI and other things to create like social media assets, short form sort of content. But the thing that I also going to get more comfortable with is creating, kind of like on the fly video content, like lives and things like that. So look out for all those things. Follow me everywhere. Check out the website. Particularly, I would love everyone here to give me feedback and see if, obviously if either tier is a fit for them, but I'd love to get feedback on that first tier specifically, because I created it with a lot of the, small business owners in mind. But if it's not going to gain traction, I'm probably going to fold it into the one tier. I'd prefer not to do that, but I do want to keep things kind of simple and, and really have it be the best solution possible. So that would be awesome. That would be awesome feedback on that.
Excellent.
And I'm here.
Awesome. Evan, thank you so much. And for all of our listeners, thank you for joining us for this episode of Easton Park Talk, and we will see you next time.